Hello everyone, this is Yours Trivia, and today we're starting a brand new Let's Talk Lore series titled The First Emperor of Wei, which will cover the life of Cao Pi from his birth to the founding of the Kingdom of Wei in the year of 220, as the man who will ultimately usurp the Han and officially herald in the Three Kingdoms period. Cao Pi's early life centered around his struggle to become Cao Cao's heir, as when he was born in 187, he was already Cao Cao's third son, and his birth mother, Lady Bian, was just a traveling singer and dancer who had caught the eyes of Cao Cao and thus became one of his many concubines. Cao Cao's main wife at the time was Lady Ding, who had come from the same clan as Cao Cao's father's wife, which sounds a bit weird, but Cao Cao's birth mother was also a concubine. And while both Lady Dings would be barren, Cao Cao's Lady Ding did have two sons and one daughter to her name, thanks to her handmaiden, Lady Liu. As you see, it was customary for wealthy clans to have a handmaiden grow up alongside their daughters. And when their daughters are married off, each handmaiden will accompany their lady to their husband's household, and oftentimes also marry the husband as a concubine. Now, the rationale behind this custom is to help cement the lady's status in her new home, as the wife's status is ultimately tied to her ability to produce a male heir for her husband's clan. Not only does she need to produce a male heir, it is best that the eldest son comes from her. Thus, it is the job of the accompanying handmaiden to ensure this by preventing other concubines from having a chance to get pregnant by offering herself as a sexual partner during the times of the month that the main wife is unavailable. Now, should she get pregnant first, the handmaiden will often abort the child or just directly pass the child off to the main wife. And this was the case in Cao Cao's family, as Lady Liu will go on to have Cao Ang, Lady Cao, who I will refer to as Princess of Qinghe, as this will be her title later in life, and Cao Shuo. And all three children would be passed on to the barren Lady Ding as her own. Lady Liu would also die not long after giving birth to Cao Shuo, which will further cement Lady Ding's position as their mother. Now, just to clarify, Lady Bian's marriage to Cao Cao was not a shotgun marriage, as in Cao Cao did not take Lady Bian in as a concubine because he gotten her pregnant. Lady Bian met Cao Cao in 180 when she was 20 years old and Cao Cao was 25, during a time when Cao Cao had just resigned from his post as the administrator of Dong because his in-laws, the Song clan, had just got exterminated, as Empress Song lost favor at court due to the rise of Consort He, who will very soon replace her as Empress He. Thus, in order to not get punished as collateral damage, Cao Cao voluntarily resigned and went home to relax and stay low. And after meeting and falling for Lady Bian, it would take another 7 years until the winter of 187 for their first kid, Cao Pi, to be born. Now, will records say that when Cao Pi was born, azure clouds in the shape of a roof of a carriage circled above Cao Cao's residence for days, symbolizing Cao Pi's future importance? And I would simply dismiss such claims as common supernatural prophecy added by court historians after Cao Pi had become emperor to grant more legitimacy to his heavenly mandate as the emperor. But there is one prophecy that I will give some credit to, and that is a prophecy in 176, 11 years before Cao Pi's birth, when clouds in the shape of a dragon surfaced above Qiaoxian, which was Cao Cao's hometown and the place of Cao Pi's birth. Now, such a supernatural phenomenon was recorded by the courts, and Qiao Xuan, the imperial court advisor at the time, asked the court astronomer, Shan Yang, what is the meaning of this? To which he replied that the yellow dragon symbolizes that an emperor will rise from here, and that within 50 years, this very dragon will surface again. Now, this conversation was recorded at the time by Yin Deng, who actually lived to see it come true, as in the year 220, 45 years after Shanyang's prophecy, the dragon-shaped yellow clouds rose again in Qiaoxian, just months before the last Han emperor would abdicate the throne to Cao Pi, who obviously was born in Qiaoxian. Now, prophecies aside, Cao Ang, Cao Shuo, Cao Zhi, and even Cao Chong were all born in Qiaoxian as well, and indeed, one could argue that all of them had a better chance than Cao Pi to become Cao Cao's heir, yet at the end of the day, Cao Pi prevailed, and in this series, we will see why. Now, unlike many of Cao Cao's later sons, Cao Pi was born during a time when Cao Cao had nothing. When Cao Cao chose to join the coalition against Dong Zhuo and become a warlord himself, Cao Pi was just 2 years old. And while Cao Cao focused on teaching Cao Pi Confucian texts and Han history from a young age, by the time Cao Pi was 6, Cao Cao had realized that war was going to be a constant in Cao Pi's life, so he started to teach Cao Pi archery. And by the age of 8, Cao Pi had not only mastered archery, but also combined it with horseback riding. Then at the age of 10, Cao Pi joined his father's army, as he would start to accompany his father and brothers on campaigns. Unfortunately, his very first campaign was the 197 siege of Van against Zhang Xiu, where after the initial surrender, Zhang Xiu changed his mind and ambushed Cao Cao inside Van City. And while many have heard the story of how Cao Cao's eldest son, Cao Ang, would end up giving his horse to his father, Cao Cao, after Cao Cao's famed steed, the Shadow Runner, took an arrow to the face and died, many do not know that Cao Pi, who was just 10 at the time, was also in the army camp that night, as he too had to ride for his life to escape the ambush. And by next morning, Cao Cao had lost his eldest son, Cao Ang, who fought to death on foot alongside his cousin, Cao Anming, and Cao Cao's bodyguard, Dian Wei, as they bought enough time for Cao Cao to escape with his life. And just like that, Cao Cao's eldest son from the main wife was gone, and inheritance became an open competition, as while it was customary in Chinese tradition to have the eldest son of the main wife inherit, there were no rules on who was second in line, as once the eldest son dies, every remaining son now had an equal claim on becoming heir, as it was now really up to Cao Cao. Of course, Cao Shuo, Cao Ang's brother, still had the advantage of being a son of the main wife, Lady Ding, but following Cao Ang's death at Van City, Lady Ding separated from Cao Cao, as she blamed his lust for Lady Zuo as the main reason for Zhang Xiu's betrayal and Cao Ang's death. And even though Cao Cao tried many times to persuade Lady Ding to return to his side, she refused, as she returned back to her clan to live out her days until she would die sometime in the early 200s. So suddenly, not only was the eldest son of the main wife gone, but even the main wife herself is gone following the tragedies at Van City, and Cao Shuo and the future princess of Qinghe would be passed over to Lady Bian to raise. But unfortunately, before the calendar would even turn 198, Cao Shuo would also pass away in childhood due to illness, leaving Cao Pi behind as the oldest surviving son of Cao Cao. And while it would be years before Lady Bian would be elevated to the position of main wife, it did seem for a moment that Cao Pi would be destined to become Cao Cao's heir, but one of Cao Cao's youngest sons at the time, Cao Chong, who was born just a year prior in 196 by concubine Lady Huan, will soon grow up to become a child prodigy and Cao Cao's favorite, which will be the topic of our next episode. So hopefully, as we end our episode here, you all enjoyed it enough to leave a like to help support the channel, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!